In this segment, I'm going to show you how we make the ginkgo leaf. So ginkgo is a tree, and it's sometimes called the maidenhair fern tree. It grows a lot in various parts of the world, like in Asia, in North America, in Europe. It's a very beautiful tree because, again, it has a little bit like the Japanese maple, a nice green leaf during. And then in the fall, autumn time, it changes to a beautiful, more like yellowy green color. So it's not so much the oranges and reds as the maple is, but more of the greeny yellows. So again, I start off generally with a cream color. So this gives us a good foundation to build onto. And as you can see, it looks almost a little bit like a mermaid's tail, or as I said, like the maidenhair fern. Now when we make the ginkgo, we're going to use the cream paste. We're going to use a number 8 size ball of paste. All right, so going to use a number 8 size ball, so 1/3 below, 2/3 above. Okay, just a standard size. And I'm going to do a similar technique to that I did on the maple. All right, I'm just going to roll this into a sausage. All right, so this sausage wants to be about the width of the bottom of the mold, as you can see here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is just going to literally just fold that in a V shape. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of, I said, some vegetable shortening in here, some vegetable fat, but very, very minimal amount. Okay, and usually you don't have to do this every time, usually every 2 or 3 leaves if you're making multiples of them. Again, we're going to take a little bit of corn flour onto here. Going to press this into the mold, just pop a little on the top. Now here I'm using, this is sold separately as a basically a fan veiner, fan shaped veiner. All right, I use this on my poppies. So if you watch my new poppy video, you'll see how to use this for poppies. And also I'm going to use this because you see it obviously mimics the design of the ginkgo leaf. Now this is also included in part of the ultimate sunflower and daisy mold. So if you already have that mold, this is included with that. This is the second part of the daisy. So rather than duplicating the same mold in multiple things, so as I said, if you don't have the sunflower, obviously it's a fabulous mold. You could obviously invest in that and then use this back part here. But also this is now sold separately. It's like a fan back veiner. Okay, so we're going to use this. So again, just a little bit of cornstarch onto there. I'm going to press this on the top. Now this is not mandatory that you have the veining on the back. It just looks nice to have the veining on the back. All right, but you don't have to. So if you didn't have this part, your ginkgo leaf is still going to look beautiful. And a lot of people only vein one side of the leaves. So just like on, for example, on my poppy video, I show how to use the back of the poinsettia leaf and petal veiner for the back of the poppy leaves. But again, that's just, as I said, suggestions of using, as I said, other parts of the Flower Pro. Because Flower Pro is growing and we're obviously adding new products 2 or 3 times a year, what we're trying to do now is to actually sort of like to come back and then readdress and use some of the things we have in different ways. So the whole idea, this is a whole system that you'll be able to sort of obviously use for different multiple uses. All right, so this is your back veiner here. Now, so once you press this in, you see how pressing it in with the back of the mold will help to make it very quick to do. We're then again going to take your tool here and we're just gonna make the little ridge here. Now when you put this in, it's going to go about 3/4 of the way into obviously to the ridge. So it wants to stop just before the end here. Don't come obviously too close to this because it will come potentially out. And you can also, on these larger ones, you can also do this with your finger as well. You see, so you can actually just press that in with your finger. So again, we're going to just dip that into your egg white. I'm going to just push this into the little channel here like this. This goes into the channel. And as I said, this will go into the leaf here. It just wants to stop there towards the end part there. All right. So now we're going to take the veiner. So the veiner is going to go on. Now here, because this is designed for the daisy petals, sunflower petals, we don't have the little notch in here like we have in this one. So all you do here is the point of that, you just line it up where the point of your pieces. And this is actually the only one I'm using where a leaf I'm showing you on here on the foliage that I'm not using the maple one. All right, so I'm going to just press this onto the back here like so. And you see how you're going to get this beautiful sort of fan shape here like that. Again, just turn this over. And you see, this is just the way I found the easiest to just hold on. Remember, you can use a little scraper or your little bit. You see how by doing that, when you try and pull it out of the mold, you're not just going to pull the wire out. You're not going to distress the paste either. Okay. Now, when you've cut this out, okay, we're going to take this, and then we're going to now, there's two ways you can do this. You can take your companion tool, needle tool end, and you can make some little tiny, almost like little cuts on here, because as you can see on the finished leaf, it has these little sort of tears, a little bit like how we have on some garden rose petals. So you can just do like a little, almost like a little slash, but just like a very small amount here. You can also do that with scissors, okay? So you can also take a pair of scissors and just sort of rest it on your hand, and then with scissors, you can make just a little cut here, just 2 or 3. But very, very small little cuts, all right? So you just do that on the front side. So then we're going to turn this over. So we're on the back side of this, and we're going to do this very much like the poppy petals, okay? So we're going to use the companion tool, but we're going to use, I'm going to hold it about 2/3 of the way down. And what I'm going to do here is I'm using this because this is a flexible tool, all right? It's wonderful. You do this towards the edge of the pad, so you're actually holding your stick at an angle like this, you see? So it's actually at an angle like this, all right? And so then you're just going to roll back and forward here on the main part of the fan, you see? And you're going to get this beautiful ruffle on your edge. You don't need to come down here. It's just really on the end part there, okay? So you do this on the back, okay? Then we're going to turn over to the front side. And then all we're going to do here is going to just pinch this around the shaft of the companion tool, all right, like so. And then we're going to take this and just going to just dry this into, as I said, the crepe foam former like this, all right? And then once these are dry, these two I have here are dry, all you're going to do is just going to take these. Now, a lot of times I will use these individually, but just like the Japanese maple, we're going to just take these, slide the floral tape up to the bottom, going to tape down here like so. So this will be a bit like the maple. As I said, most times I just use these individually. But of course you could take, for example, 2 or 3 of these, and you could put them together in a spray as well. So you could take these and then put like a 22 gauge wire onto them. But as I said, I generally speaking just use these individual. They're really nice to sort of include with, as I said, different types of autumn fall colors. But would work wonderful, like for example, in the autumn time, you could incorporate these with sunflowers, with red roses and different other things as well. So that is the ginkgo leaf. And obviously, as I said, very attractive leaf. And when we come back, I'm going to show you how to color this. So now we move on to color the ginkgo leaf. Now, just like the other leaves I've just shown, you know, just doing a search on the internet for just putting ginkgo leaf image, but you'll see obviously this again shows the ginkgo leaf, of course, as I said, it looks like maidenhair fern. This is, of course, would be in the spring, summer, and then the leaf has this sort of beautiful autumn colors, and they do go through to very, very rich colors, very much like the Japanese maple. So you could totally make this in a maple color, like the terracotta color, and use those sort of burgundy aubergine colors on there. But as I said, I'm going to show you here in a sort of a orangey green yellow. So this is sort of like the early part of fall. Now I'm going to use here a lemon yellow. So lemon yellow, which is obviously just a normal yellow color. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just sort of use that and almost put that like in the center 1/3. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the center 1/3 of the leaf. I will also do that on the back as well. And again, you know, you can use the same brush for your green and that. So the thing is, just do all the yellow on your leaves first, okay? So then I'm going to take a little bit of green. So I'm going to use some lime green here. Okay, and then this is going to be coming from the bottom towards the top, okay? So what you're going to do here is the color is going to start here and is going to dissipate and actually come into the yellow. So when you actually then brush the green on top of the yellow, that will become more sort of limey. You see, so just going to just work that from the bottom here. Okay, so you get those nice sort of green colors coming up. You also would do the same on the back of this. And then once you do this on the back of this, that will be the sort of the green on the bottom part, okay? Then I'm going to actually change out to a flat brush, and I'm going to use 3 colors. I'm going to use This is like a dark golden yellow color called Harrison's yellow, but it's like like a rich gold color. And so you see it's almost like an in-between color. And I'm just going to use my Harrison's yellow. Harrison's yellow is actually the name of the yellow rose of Texas. So that's actually variety is Harrison's yellow. So this is a color I used actually in my Flower Pro Book 1 on the little yellow roses I made. I used the Harrison's yellow. So see how you're going to get this sort of golden color on the edge here. As I said, there's nothing wrong with using the same brush throughout, okay, because your colors almost like blend. Sometimes how we do makeup. But as I explained, you know, when you're doing this, if you were doing 6 Ginkgo leaves, you do all of the Harrison's yellow on each of them, and then you, of course, would then move on to the darker color. Remember, you can also do the colors on individual pieces of parchment paper, so then it makes it easy to then fold them, pop them back into the pot, so you're really not wasting any color. Also, you can put them on paper plates. Small paper plates work really well because you fold it like a taco shell, and then you can pop it back into there. Like in my classes, when I travel and when I teach a class, I typically use like plastic or paper plates, thin plastic plates. So again, I can just take the individual colors. So usually there, the student would work down the station of like having 4 different colors. But you see how this color just is going to give you this nice color on the edge. And then we're going to use sunflower, because obviously this is a color I used on my sunflower video for the sunflower. So then we're going to now just going to blend your sunflower on the edge. But you see how you create that beautiful, you're going from a lemon into a darker gold color, and then obviously this lovely color on the edge. All right, and then here we're going to actually go around the edge like this. You're going to do this front and back. And then we're going to then just cut into, so I'm using my brush like a knife. I'm just going to just cut into where you did the little sort of cuts with the companion tool or with the scissors, okay? And that will give you a beautiful color on your ginkgo leaves, all right? So you see here you have those really lovely rich colors here. Now this one I've brought the orange a little bit further down, so this one I've left it. So because you don't want to make them all exactly the same. Also this one has got a little bit more green on it, so you really almost want to make them look natural. And so just when you're doing, say, 6 leaves, you don't have to do everyone exactly the same. When we do flowers, that's a little bit different, because when we do petals of, say, a lily, when you do your 6 lily petals, you want them to look similar. But whereas when you're doing, for example, leaves, you want to have that natural color. So you can just sort of here and there, like when I showed rose leaves, how you put the accent color on. And then I'm just going to steam these just for a second. All right. And again, the ginkgo leaf, I'm not going to spray. I'm just going to leave this the natural look. But it's a very, very unusual shaped leaf. And this is very popular, iconic shape in Japan. And for example, you'll see a lot of like jewelry made, like ginkgo leaf jewelry and silver earrings and things. It's just such a beautiful shape. It's sort of very, very attractive leaf and really adds a lot of sort of extra interest into an arrangement. So here we have the ginkgo. So now we're going to move on to the ivy. So the first ivy I'm going to show you is going to be the bird's foot ivy. So this has got 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. And again, these could be made unwired to use on cupcakes with little flowers and things, or could again in air drying clay for craft. You could obviously make a little ivy plant to go in your bathroom or kitchen, maybe an area that doesn't get any sunlight. So, as I said, when we make the ivy, 3 sizes. So we're going to be using a number 5 small, a number 6 small, and a number 7 small. So 5 small, 6 small, 7 small. So that means your paste will actually go through the hole. So here you've got your number 5 will go through. As you can see, it just goes through the hole there. So just make your little ball the size, so it just, as I said, just goes through the holes, all right? So it's a small size. Now again, I'm going to show you the small and the large one, because obviously the small ones on both that and Japanese maple are quite tiny. So a little bit of vegetable shortening into there, vegetable fat. This is going to be your 5 small ball of paste. Remember, on the little tiny one, you're just going to press this in with your cosmetic sponge or with your finger. And then we're just going to use your Dresden tool just to push this to the edge here. Remember, just make sure you stay within the perimeter. And on the 2 varieties of ivy, you want to you see how the paste is pushed down? You're going to just push this paste up, because the leaf is actually going to be, you know, obviously like a V shape here, okay? So because naturally when you push the paste in, it's going to push down to where the wire will go. I'm going to take, all three of these will be done on 28 gauge wires. So you're going to just put the wire into the egg white, and you're going to just thread this into the leaf here. Wants to go in about 2/3 of the way into that. And then we're going to go back to your maple leaf, and then literally, as I said, I'm just going to use just the very tip of the, so the veinner is just over the top of that. Just going to press this down just gently, and what it's going to do is going to give you like a little veining onto the back, all right? Again, just make sure that you stay within the perimeter, because sometimes if your paste is if you're a little generous with your paste, the paste is going to squash out over the top. All right, and then just going to turn this over and just flex the mold. And on the smaller ones, as I said, usually, as I said, it's pretty easy to get out. Now, if you do have any like little membrane, meaning that your paste, you've got like a little membrane that comes off the top, you can just press that in with your little tool like this. Now on here, I'm going to put this onto my pad. Now, there's two ways to do this, all right? You can use traditional method of using a small balling tool. So generally for something this size, all right, you can use this or even your little companion tool end, all right? So you're just going to go around your edge of your leaf like this, sort of half on the edge and half on the paste. And what that's going to do is going to just give you a little bit of softening like that. You turn this over, going to use your veining tool, the needle tool end of the companion tool. So you're going to just hollow the base, and you're just going to pinch your leaf, because this is called the bird's foot ivy, so it has this nice almost like pointed shape to it. All right, so this is going to be the little bird's foot ivy, and again these will just go onto, as you can see, onto your crepe foam to dry. Okay, now when we go on to the medium one, obviously we will be using a number 6 small, so that would be a number 6 that would go through the hole for this one, and then this is going to be a number 7 small. Okay, so this one is going to be a number 7 small that just goes through the hole here like this. And of course, when I made, for example, I made obviously like 3 of the large leaves to dry, then I just obviously measured off 1 and made another 2 balls the same size. So ivy has been a requested foliage on our obviously Facebook group. So those of you members of the Facebook group, you know, we like to hear back of things you're interested in. You know, we always sort of take notice of things that you're maybe would like us to add to the collection. And obviously slowly we're adding different things. This has been in the works for actually about a year and was scheduled to come out when it has, and obviously it adds a lot more foliage. So with things like your roses and your stephanotis and some of those other things, the ivy is really beautiful. Okay, so a little bit of vegetable fat here, a little bit of, as I said, cornstarch. Just going to press this in. You see, so just press this in, and then you can put just a little bit on the top, and again you can just take the back of the veinner. You see what that does, it sort of initially gets it mostly where you need it to go, you see? And then you're just going to just finish this off. But just remember, stay within the perimeter of the mold. Okay, that's important. And again here, you can see how the paste is pushed down. So what you want to do here, just push this paste up so it just comes to the top there like that, because as you can see here, there's almost like a little, because this is obviously putting the wire in, so we need this here, but you just push this up, so it's obviously going to form almost like a V shape, okay? And then we're going to take your wire here. All right, so then with the bigger one, all right, so just like before with the bigger one, you can actually create like a little ridge there for the wire to go into. I'm just going to push the wire into, just feel it tickle your finger. Remember, it wants to go up about 2/3. Just remember that because in these ivy, the maple and this ivy here, remember, because of the shape of the leaf, we can't pinch the bottom, all right, like we do on rose leaves and certain other ones, all right? So we're going to go in a little bit further. Again, we're going to take so just like I did when I did the Japanese maple, you almost bring this up, so the little ears here, all right? So those little ears there want to be just past there. And that will just give you Now if you should take the veinner off and you realize that, you know, you haven't put it in the right position, just revein it. It will be perfectly okay, all right? Now again, remember, if you just try to pull the wire out, because we haven't molded around the bottom, so that's why I said I prefer to just peel this back, just using my little companion tool. You see how and then I'm just going to use this to give this back. Now again, you see how there's like a little bit of overfill there? So you can also just take a pair of scissors there and just trim this off. Now you notice how the leaves look very shiny when they come out. That's just because of the fat on them, the shortening, and that will dry off of them. So, you know, these ones I made earlier, you see they're not shiny anymore, okay? So when you're doing the larger size leaves, we can, obviously when we soften the back of this, we can go on to a larger ball tool, all right? So we can use a larger ball tool, half on the edge, half on the paste, all right? So just kind of around the edge here, like so. If you do over frill that, you just don't want to make it too frilly, you can just trim that as needed. And you can also do that technique, can also be done as I do with a lot of my things now, just using your companion tool. You can just use your companion tool, just going to go around your edge like this. Now again, when we finish the ivy, you're going to hold it between your thumb and finger, you're going to pinch it, and then you're going to pinch it like a taco, so you get this like taco shells. You want this like V shape, you see, and that's characteristic of ivy family. That also helps to make sure the wire stays in place as well. And then you're going to just pop that into the foam former. This just dries in a nice natural shape. Now if you don't have a foam former like this is crepe foam former, they're very easy to find, but if you don't have this like crepe bubble foam, you can also take a piece of aluminum foil and you can just scrunch it up and you can just lay your leaves to dry in a natural shape on aluminum foil. So in actually my early days of making sugar flowers, that's what I used to use, was just a piece of foil, okay? And this will, as I said, give you the nice natural shape. So once these are dry, again in the food dehydrator for about 45 minutes to an hour, 2 or 3 hours to dry naturally, we're then going to move on to the next step, which is going to be the taping and assembly. So now we're going to move on to assembly of the bird's foot ivy. So once the leaves have dried, we're going to tape these. Now we're going to use a moss green. If you don't have moss green, you can use brown, all right? But generally, as I said, the stem of this variety of ivy is usually a little bit darker. So this is the moss green color here. So half width floral tape. And then we're going to take this, it's going to go around, and it's going to just slide up to the bottom of the leaf, just like on the Japanese maple, if you watch that. Just going to tape down about 2/3 of the way down, okay? Now when you tape in ivy, we're going to start off with obviously the smaller leaves, then go to the medium and the large, because ivy is sort of trailing. So you're just going to just start with the small leaf. And you want to, you know, have quite a sort of like a long sort of stem part of so you don't want to tape it too tightly together, because you want to have this nice, being able to sort of like bend the ivy and get like a nice shape here. So again, it's going to be dependent a little bit on how it's going to be put together, but you're just going to continue down. And then I'm going to just now add in my medium leaf. And then I'm going to put in my second medium leaf here. It's another medium leaf. You see, as I'm coming down, I'm also coming out as well, okay? And then I'm going to put in, so usually then when you put in your first large leaf, so at the point where you're going to put in the first of the large leaves, which is going to go, and you just go into one side into the other, I'm going to add in here a 22 gauge wire. This is a stronger wire. But you want the end part of the ivy to be nice and soft, so you can obviously bend this in different shapes depending on how you're going to use that in your spray. I'm just going to continue with the next one here. You see how they're just going to come out a little bit. And of course, just like on the Japanese maple, you can have you can have smaller sort of sprays coming out as well. But a lot of times if you were, for example, doing like a bouquet or having it trailing down a wedding cake, this is how I would generally put it together. Now this ivy, as I said, is bird's foot style because it has the pointed leaves, but the bird's foot ivy can be made in different colors. Okay, and so I made it just with a green, it's just with a green paste here, but you can also do it, as I'm going to show in the next segment, with a cream color, like a dark cream, or a pale ivory color, or even white to do it variegated. So this variety could be made variegated as well as just green, okay? And this is going to be sort of colored and have a nice marking onto it. So here we have the, as I said, the bird's foot ivy. So next segment of this is going to be to show you how we color this. So I'll be right back. So now we're going to move on to paint the bird's foot ivy. Now bird's foot ivy, again, just doing a search on like a Google search, you know, you're going to get obviously ideas of the different sort of shapes and colors. So of course the bird's foot ivy has, as I said, this characteristic shape, hence the name bird's foot ivy. Now I typically paint this, all right, but you could also dust this. When I do the variegated English ivy, I'm going to show you a technique of dusting, sponging, and then scratching away the veins. And in this one here, I'm going to show you painting and painting the veins. But you could also paint this with the green, let it dry, and then scratch the actual veins, just like I'm going to show on the English one. So I'm really just showing you different methods. Those of you, if you're working in, say, air drying clay, you really couldn't use the scratching method on air drying clay because it's sort of soft. But as I said, you could totally use the painted method. Now I'm going to start off with some, I have here just some paste color. It's like a gooseberry moss green color. And so what you do here is you're going to just add a little bit of vodka to this. You could also airbrush this as well. Okay, so you could basically airbrush this. And then what we're going to do here, we're going to use this to just paint over the leaf. All right, so just try the color out on the back of the leaf first. If it needs to be a little bit darker. Obviously, I've already done part of this leaf. And of course, some of the bird's foot ivy is really, really dark, you know, very, very dark green color. So you can change the color of the green as well. So you just check it out, and then you're going to paint then so once you get to know the colors all right, then you're going to then go in with your base color. It's going to go over the leaves. And once you know the colors right, normally what you do is do the fronts of all of the leaves first. So you would go do the fronts of all of the leaves, and then you can go back and do the back, because that means by the time you've done the back, the fronts would be dry. Now I'm going to use just a darker version of this. So I'm going to just take that, and I'm just going to do like some little splotches with my brush. All right, so literally almost doing like a sort of, so you get that slightly sort of dark tonal color on the front and the back. Okay. Now, once you get the painting done, so this, because we've used vodka, this evaporates very, very quickly. All right, next step is going to be, I have here, so some white gel color. All right, so this is obviously a food coloring for obviously crafts and that. You could just use a white acrylic paint. And what I have here is I have some yellow gel color as well, or paste color. Okay. Now, when you paint this, I found if you use white, it soaks into the green. So what I actually do is I'm going to make almost like a yellow custard color. Okay. So what I do here is I'm going to take my white. I'm going to just take a little bit of yellow here, like this. So you're making this almost like a sort of a custard color. Now, if you don't have white gel color, all right, this is available really in all cake decorating stores and shops, online stores. If you don't have white gel color, you can use white powder and just add a little bit of vodka to it. Now, if it is a little bit thick, all right, you can add a little bit of vodka, but usually you want it like a paint-like consistency, as you can see here. Now, I usually just take some of this paint and put it on the back of my hand. All right, this is the way that I found easiest to paint. And then when you're painting, you're using a brush here, and you see how you just twist the brush, you just twist it, so you're gonna get a nice point onto here. Because then what I do is I have my palette here on the back of my hand, so it just makes it a little bit easier to paint. So then you're gonna just paint the line coming down the middle of so you're gonna just paint into the main veins first. Just paint down here. So though it's yellow, when it goes on, it won't stay yellow. You see, so you're just actually following the veins onto that you have from the. I'm just going to just paint down here, and I'm going to paint down here as well. Okay. All right. So that's going to give you your main veins, and then you're going to, from your lateral vein, you're just really following the veins that are on that you can actually see from the mold. Just going to paint your lines coming out. But as I said, when I show you the next ivy, I'm actually going to use like a scalpel X-Acto knife to actually scratch the veins away. And you could totally do that technique on here. All right. And as I said, but the thing to remember is you just want your green to just dry a little bit. So you just would leave this about 15-20 minutes to dry. And you see how you're going to get your painted ivy. Okay. And then what we would then do is once you get that painted, you're just going to glaze that. So we would use some spray lacquer on here. There's no need to let this dry, and we don't of course have to steam this because we don't have powder on here, but you're just going to lightly spray this with the lacquer, and then you just want to just stand this up so this will dry. So here we have our bird's foot ivy. Okay, so you have your bird's foot ivy here ready to use on a cake or an arrangement. So now we're going to move on to the English ivy. All right, so this is sort of a classic English ivy type. This of course comes in green, but also comes in variegation. And when you do like a search, for example, on the internet, you could do a search on ivy. You can see here, this shows, for example, like the ivy I'm showing you here, which is sort of like a green with a yellow into it. But you can see here, you've got obviously different colors. This one is like an ivory color on the edge of it. And so you've got, so sometimes you'll start obviously as more of a yellowy color. So sometimes you'll start off with a dark creamy yellow or an ivory or a white color, okay? And depending on what variety you're going to make. So you can start off with the the yellowy colored ones. You could use a dark cream, which is the color I use for the maple and for the ginkgo leaves. And in here I just got a sort of an ivory, just an off-white, okay? So it's not too stark. So you can either just add a little bit of this if you have some cream color to white, or alternatively just use a little bit of ivory or cream gel color. And when we measure the balls of paste for the 3 sizes, we're using a number 8 small, so that would be a number 8 that goes through the hole, and number 7 small that goes through the hole. And then the 6 wants to be just like a little bit of a generous number 6, because a number 7 small you can see is way too big. So this is just like I showed earlier on, you just need one. So this is about 1/4 below and 3/4 above. So it's like a 6+, okay? So just a little bit of a generous number 6. All of these are done in exactly the same way. The only difference is here, when you do the small leaf, all right, the small ivy leaf here, this would be done with a 28 gauge wire, all right, so that one is done with a 28, and then the 2 larger size leaves will be done with the 26 gauge wire, okay? And I'm just going to show you one of these because this is very much the same way as the previous ivy, just obviously using this color. So I'm going to do the larger leaf, and so again, just going to put just a little bit of vegetable fat shortening into the leaf here. Just going to take your pale ivory color, so it's just a sort of an ivory color, and this just gives you not quite so stark as white. As I said, this could totally be done in green color like I did the other ivy, and then this ivy which I did in green could be done in an ivory or cream color. So ivy is very interchangeable, but with having the 3 sides of the leaves, it's nice because you've got the different options there. So a little bit of, and then it's going to take the back of the veiner, just press that in. All right, and then we're just going to just work this into the end of the leaf here. Just make sure you stay within the perimeter of the, as I said, this is more of a sort of just a lot of times in gardens and that you get this type of ivy. This is more like a garden ivy. In the US, we just call this English ivy because typically we use this a lot in landscaping. But of course, also we grow many ivies in homes, you know, like as a house plant. So most of these are either suitable to grow outside or inside. So you're going to have this. And again, just like I've showed on previous ones here, just going to push that paste up from that. So it does obviously from the little channel here. Okay. And as I said, we're going to take 26 gauge wire here. Just going to pop that into here, going to push this in. So again, your little channel. So really the channel is better to do on the bigger ones, but as I said, on the little tiny ones, you're generally just going to put that straight into the paste because you can't really put a channel on there. All right, so the channel should go into there like so. Then we're going to put this up. And this one here is I'm going actually up sort of really almost to the top of it. Just going to press this on the top of this like so. All right, so I'm going to give you the nice veining onto the back. Again, just peel this back. So remember this technique of using your companion tool, you see, what it does is it sort of enables you to be able to peel the paste back from the mold like that without distorting the shape of it. Okay, so it makes it very easy to do. And again, we're just going to just turn this over, and you can either use your, you can use the shaft of your little tool here, companion tool like this, or you could use, as I said, a ball tool, modeling tool, just go around the edge just gently. Don't want to make it too frilly, okay? And just like before, we turn this over. Going to hold it between your thumb and first finger. If you do have paste that has come down, just push that up like that so you get a nice clean start. And then you're going to hollow this around the companion tool. And again, we're just going to pinch this like a taco shape, because all ivy has this sort of characteristic V shape, all right? So then again, this is going to just dry on your foam former. So just going to just dry these on your foam former like this. And this will be ready for the next stage, which is going to be the assembly and then finally the coloring. So when I come back, I'm going to show you how we put these together. So now to finish off the variegated English ivy. So again, as I've shown, you know, just doing a search, you can find obviously the different types of ivy. But this is variegated English style ivy, okay? So obviously you have the white or the cream ivory parts around the edge of it. Now, of course, you can also make this like the same color, so you could actually do it in green paste, then you could paint it all over to make dark green ivy or dust it, and then you can use the scratching method on the dark green. Now I'm going to start off first of all with a prairie green, color I've used quite a lot, and then a foliage green, color I've used quite a lot before, about equal amounts, okay? And so I'm just going to mix these together, because the foliage green is a little bit of a blue, has a little bit of a blue undertone, so it's going to give a nice color to the ivy. So we're going to take the brush, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use my brush, and I'm just going to cut in around the edge. You see how I'm using the brush on its side here. So this will be very much like when you do paint, all right? You're using this flat brush. If you remember if you watch my video on my when I did my lilies, like the stargazer lily, same sort of thing. So you're leaving the edge, but it doesn't have to be sort of exact. And, you know, if you come a little bit over on one of them, it will be fine. But you're just going to sort of cut into the edge of the leaf here, you see? So that's going to give you the base here. Now on the back here, all I'm going to do is really just going to do the same, but I don't have to be so specific here. So what I'm doing here is I'm using almost a scrubbing action, and I'm just going to come from the base, just coming down here like this. So I'm just going to leave it a little bit more sort of just like natural on the edge, okay? All right, so that will be, so you do that on obviously all of the petals. And of course you could put this in a little container and then just mark it with what it is, which is going to be half prairie and half foliage green. And obviously keep that next time you're making the ivy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my foliage, all right, which is my darker green of the two, and I'm going to use some vodka here. So I'm going to take some vodka with the powder. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this, I'm actually going to sponge. Now I'm using a cosmetic sponge. This is a cosmetic wedge, okay? Because the cosmetic wedge you can use just like the point of it, or you can use it like flat, like a little line, you know, so you can of course change it. And so what we're going to do here, we're just going to do some sponging. So you see how I'm actually going to, then you can do like almost like a line, some little dots here. So you're just going to do this, not all over, because you want to add this sort of second color onto the leaves, you see? So I'm just using my, and it's going to go over the, like that. And you just do this on the front of the leaf, all right? So you just do this on the front of the leaf. And so that's going to be just done on the front side. Obviously continue that on all of your leaves. But this, as I said, is just a cosmetic wedge. Alternatively, you could use a round cosmetic sponge and just cut that down the middle and then use it. But the little wedges are easily to find for makeup. And as I said, this works great for when you're just doing small amounts of color, okay? Once we've done that, we're going to take a, I'm using here an X-Acto knife for a scalpel, all right? So just obviously be really careful with this. But what we're actually going to do here is we're going to scratch into the leaves. And then what that does, it actually is going to see how it cleans up the veins here. So what you do here is with your knife, you're actually just going to scratch into the existing veins from here. So you can just going to use your knife like this. You see, and that's how you would then create the beautiful technique of the leaves. Okay, just going to come down here. Just have to be a little careful, and obviously don't be too rough here. And you can of course just clean your knife off periodically because it's going to have like some sugar on the edge of it. And then remember, this technique, you could also use this same exact technique on your bird's foot ivy. Okay, so instead of using the technique I showed you, you can just actually just scratch. So you see, you can actually just scratch away the veins on that. And because it's a lighter green underneath, it will look almost white. Okay, so I just wanted to show you in the, obviously, whole thing of Flower Pro is obviously showing you different techniques and just showing you two different ways of creating the veins. Now this ivy, just like the other ivy, is just going to then be sprayed here. Usually because we've got sort of dust on here, all right? If you were using a brush glaze, you would need to steam this, all right? If you're using spray lacquer, you don't have to because the color is not gonna, we're just gonna spray this over just gently over the leaf. And then with the back, you don't do any sponging on. I've just done the base color, and that will be it. All right, so here you have your beautiful second variety of ivy. So I hope you will enjoy using my Flower Pro maple, ivy and ginkgo leaf veiner and mold. Remember, this is a two-part mold which has obviously the lovely back to it. And obviously during this presentation, I've shown you how to make fabulous maple leaves. All right, so we have of course then the Japanese maple. It's a beautiful complement to the maple leaf. The lovely interesting ginkgo leaf. And then finally, two varieties of ivy, both the bird's foot style ivy, and then moving on to the last one, which is going to be the variegated ivy. All right, and this is variegated English style ivy. So as you can see, this one incredible mold will make all of those fabulous foliages and leaves that you can use on not only in autumn, fall time, but remember these could be used during other times of year. But of course, ivy is a very popular foliage to use for bridals for wedding cakes, and so perfect to complement your other Flower Pro sugar flowers. So this has been Nicholas Lodge. Until next time, sweet wishes, and I'll see you real soon.